How's it going, everybody? Tom Quiet here from Live and Amplified. I just wanted to jump on here before we get to the show. This episode and the next several, I'd say about 19, are going to be a little bit different. They're essentially going to be re-uploads in a manner of speaking. So a little under 2 years ago, so beginning of last year, we did a series called the Jam Session Podcast with featured musicians playing and performing original songs. But then we also had a secondary interview with musicians that we had never heard of or never had any prior engagements. And then as the series kind of went along, they became fan nominated. And since those shows never really got much traction, I thought it might be kind of cool as a treat for the end of the year to re-upload some of those podcasts, or all those podcasts, the fan-nominated ones. And so that's what we're going to do here. I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up if they sound a little out of date or talking about something that isn't a thing anymore or is really old. That's kind of why. But just wanted to jump on here and let you know what was going on. Thanks. Enjoy the show. For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, we are live and amplified. So let's get ready to podcast.
Fire it up.
How did the show go? The show went remarkably well. It was a really cool night. I'd never played at the venue before, and the organisation who ran it, Project Dreamin', two really good people by the names of Bella and Linnea. They set up the room really nice. Sound guy was a cool dude going by the name of Fuzz.
Okay.
Which I always love, like quirky names. Anyone out there? Obviously, I assume that's not his birth name, but sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish my birth name was that cool. The venue itself was really nice. The set went well, which is always great whenever you're an artist, because you're always worrying. You have that adrenaline rush, and you want to be able to do it. And yeah, it was just cool to play. And all the other artists that played, there was some phenomenal acts towards the end. There was this one woman. Her name was Maya Delilah.
Okay.
And it was just her on her own. I think she records in a full studio setup, sort of doing similar to me, but she was just doing it solo with a guitar, and every now and then messing with the loop pedal. But her sound and her technique and style of playing were just super crisp. Nice. Super crisp. It was very strong jazz soul vibe. So it was a really good night. It was a really good night.
Was it the organization that had put on the show? Had you worked with them before, or how'd you get involved with them?
No, I'd never worked with them before. I had an offer previously. So basically, how I got established in connection with this group was there is a venue in North London in an area known as Camden, called the Camden Roundhouse. And it's a very renowned, extremely renowned place. And I played there, but not on the official stage. I played in the cafe bar where they do an open mic about once a month. And so, yeah, I went there, and that was a really cool experience. I got to see a lot of the young up-and-coming musicians, because they run a program for 16 to 25-year-olds at the establishment itself, where they enable them to get resources and get into basic and more elaborate studio setups so they can work and refine upon production skills and network with people and start collaborations. And I played at the open mic, and afterwards, where I met some really cool artists, like a young London up-and-coming rapper by the name of T. Peters. He's got a lot of stuff going out, really great music. And I had a message on Instagram from Linnea, who's one half of Project Dreaming, and they were offering me to do this show where it was I can't remember the exact name, but the concept was it. Concept of it was internationalism within music, and so the aim was to have people who are either from other countries or like second generation immigrants who were like bilingual or multilingual.
Okay.
And my heritage is Portuguese, but suffice it to say, I can't really speak much Portuguese. I can understand a small amount, but I can speak even less. And so I ended up having to turn that one down because I felt it would be incredibly disingenuous. And though I've definitely done some like risky moves before in my life and staked claims of things that I have never truly been able to live up to, just as a lot of human beings have, because
Exactly.
Exactly. And but I was like, oh, you know what? This probably ain't the wisest of moves, and I'll probably get there, and I'll start singing like, because you had to sing songs, a few songs in your quote unquote original language or your other language. And I was like, I'll get up there and there'd be a Portuguese person who's like, their accent sounds Brazilian and they're not even really speaking Portuguese. They're a liar. They're a fraud. And so I'm like, oh no, I don't want to deal with that. But they were both really cool, and so they were fine with me turning that one down and keeping my name in their books. And then it got around to this one and they offered it to me, and I jumped at the chance. And I'm very grateful for it. It was one of the most enjoyable, chilled out shows that I've had to do. I've had other ones as well, of course, which is no slander to anywhere else, but I have also played some dives, but I think that's part and parcel of going through almost any creative industry, whether it is like, exactly. You're going to end up with some people.
Yeah. It's part of the growing process as a musician. Like, you have to play those shows in front of nobody in dive bars that nobody's paying attention to. It's part of the growing process for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's the tale of most of my years.
So staying on the show last night, for the people that have never seen you play live, what can they expect from one of your shows?
What can you expect? A veritable musical miscellany. No, that's probably the best way I can describe it. It's so essentially, I utilize a loop pedal, and through that I chain a very basic guitar effects board that I purchased myself when I was 14, and I had big metal dreams, and I was like, I'm gonna kill it out here, overdrive galore, and now I'm so far removed from that side. But times they change.
Yep.
And I chain everything through there, and also plug in a mic. And I'm an average beatboxer, so what I realized is I'm a sort of average to decent guitar player, average decent beatboxer, but I combine the sounds and I create something that has a bit more oomph to it, and something that I really enjoy. So essentially I build beats on the loop pedal, play guitar lines on it, implementing some chords, maybe some lead lines, maybe some bass lines, and then I'll sort of rap and sing over that, and also with some I'll build vocal harmonizations on top of that. So just having a laugh with it, really.
Awesome. So your stage name is My Real Name is Starship. How did you kind of come up with that?
It's a remarkably unremarkable tale.
Okay.
Where it's literally, so I used to go by a few different names, and one of the names I used to go from, it used to be my last name, which is Marquez, and so I used to just call myself Mr. Marquez, and that's an awful name. that's
I've heard worse. It's
yeah. Oh no, so have I. But that's a remarkably shabby name. And yeah, so I was going under that name between the ages of about like 14 to, I want to say about 16 to 17, probably
Okay.
about 16. Yeah, probably a little bit closer to 17, because I've been writing music since I was like 14, as a lot of people have whenever they're in this sort of game. When I was writing songs about relationships, I'd never had
Yeah.
emotions and experiences I couldn't even really fathom, but I'd heard enough and I'd seen enough, so I
Mhm.
knew what the cliches were. Um, so yeah, and then one day I was just sitting around and I was kind of like, I really don't want to keep calling myself this name. And my my best friend back then, my closest friend back then, um, he was a bassist in training, and his bass teacher had an email address that said, "Hi, my name is Chicken." And
Okay.
at the same time, I was really into a killer sort of like folk indie artist who used to tour and be quite big. He now goes under a different name. It's a musician called Dev Hines, who
Okay.
now plays in a group called, I believe it's called Blood Orange. But his old act used to be called Lightspeed Champion, and I really liked that name, and I loved his music, and I thought it just everything about it was fantastic. I loved all the quirky elements, and so one day I was literally sitting there and I was trying to come up with a name, and so I was thinking. I was listening to Lightspeed Champion, and I'm like, part of that's in my mind, and then all of a sudden, like my friend's bass teacher's email came in my head, and I was like, "Hi, my real name is Starship," and I was like, "Wait, no, I should drop the hi. I think that's a bit too much." And I was just like, "Yeah, my real name is Starship." Yeah, yeah, I really like that. I really like that. But I tell you now, it's like I love the name,
Mhm.
and so because I've been using it for like 10 years,
Uh,
so I love it. But boy, does it really run into some problems when I go out and perform. I have to solidify that that entire phrase in people's brains, because some people, they'll be like, "Oh, what's your name?" And I'll be like, "It's my real name is Starship," and they go like, "Oh, Starship," and I'm like, "No, no, no, no! Please don't go looking up Starship, because that's the band who like performs "We Built the City on Rock and Roll."
yeah.
And I swear to God, if you start thinking I'm them, I could end up with some, I don't know, some
Yeah.
financial issues, or you're just never going to find me. So I always have to be like, it's my real name is Starship. So I'm always like, you got to say the whole thing, like A Tribe Called Quest or a
Yep.
pimp named Slickback.
Yep.
Just say the whole thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's when you come up with like a little sign that you put in front of you that just says, "My real name is Starship." And then hopefully people get it, and maybe not. I don't, like, it's, yeah.
That's a wise idea. I have had a sign for a while, but I've barely used it because I'm sort of like, it looks so shabby. It's just on like a torn off piece of cardboard and like faded ink.
Under,
And then I've got QR codes printed on either side. So maybe I should just start whipping it out, and maybe I should just take out a giant QR code,
oh,
and then
yeah.
people will be like, "What is that?" And I'll be like, "Go scan it," and then you'll find out. Yeah.
Yep. Because that'll take, like, have it take them directly to your website or your Facebook page or whatever. And maybe,
Exactly. Shit, I'm giving out too many good business ideas. I shouldn't do this. No,
oh, it's, I did,
no, I'm only messing about. Everything's public
yeah.
domain. Let's be real.
I mean, that's what I did for the longest time when I was doing like freelance video production work. My business card was my name, my phone number, and the QR code was my demo reel. And
Oh,
I would just hand it out to people, and it, like, if people knew what a QR code was, it worked fantastically. But 95% of the people didn't know what a QR code was. And they're like, "Well, what's this? How do I see your demo reel?" And I'm like, "All right." And I had to explain it to them.
yeah. Wait, well, how many years ago was this?
Well, I mean, I still have the business cards. It was only 4 years ago or so. Like, it wasn't,
Damn.
it was,
I would have.
and like the issue was I was living in a really small town, a very conservative town. So they weren't very technologically advanced. And so it was just like when I handed them a QR code, they're like, "Yeah, I don't know what to do with this." And I'm like, "Okay, I understand." So I had to, like, I mean, I still have the cards and I still hand them out from time to time because the QR code is still active.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just one of those things where I was at the time just didn't work. But so you're currently in London, correct?
Yes.
And are you born and raised in London? You mentioned that you're Portuguese, so were you born?
No. I was born and raised in London my whole time, man. I could never really claim myself to be a Portuguese national, only by heritage. That's
Okay.
it. Only by heritage.
Understood. So there's going to be a lot of people that aren't familiar with the London and the UK independent music scene, but what's kind of like the independent music scene like out there?
Honestly, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, go for it.
Fucking all over the place.
Okay.
Fucking all over the place. As in amazing highs and incredible lows. And I think part of that just comes from being in such an intensified metropolis. I feel like metropolitan areas, all of these big cities, they offer such a grand variety. And as I don't know, like, there's something about specific, like real major cities as well that really has it. And I'm sure it's the same across the entirety of the UK. I haven't been blessed enough to go and play in every major city as of yet, but in London in particular, it's just such a diverse array of abilities and presentation and potential. Like there's a lot of quite incredibly admirable people who are literally off the back of doing everything independently, are doing like quite substantial shows and killing it. And then there's real dime a dozen type characters, which I've definitely been a part of, where just like filling up really shabby open mics or real low level venues. Like, man, when I was younger, there are some shows that I'm amazed that I even got booked for. Like, I was thinking about one earlier today, and it was just kind of like, if only they booked me now, wouldn't it? Like, if they would have actually had a decent show, but I can't believe they booked me for this show back then. But that's even though there's such a widespread, I think that's one of the cool elements, because you also get to meet a lot of really interesting people and hear an incredibly varied sound. For example, there was one guy, I can't remember his name for the life of me. So there's a bar I play in quite regularly. Out of everywhere I've played in my history of being an artist, it's the most frequent venue I have performed at, and they run an open mic every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. till 2 in the morning, which is basically unheard of throughout most of London, just in terms of sheer time put in, like 7 hours, crazy. And it's in an area called New Cross, which attracts a diverse array of people. And so it's like one of those places where you turn up and across the night, it could be like a folk artist, like a singer-songwriter folk artist. Then following them is a reggae artist. Then following them is a spoken word poet. And following that is a punk fusion band. Then following that is a rapper. Then following that is an R&B singer. Following, pardon me, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So it used to attract such a diverse array of people, and it's still a really cool place, and I definitely think it's humbled a bit in years, as the world has in some places, probably not so much in others. But like, I remember, because I've been playing there on and off for about, Christ, 8 fucking years. Yeah. And I've seen huge changes come through, because I remember I used to go to that place and it was just so ragtag so fucking dive bar ragtag, where it was like the guy running it would be like running around, struggling to be able to keep everyone happy because there would be like 150 to fucking 300 people crammed into this bar inside and on the outside, and about a third to like half of them are looking to perform. And so he's getting hounded all the time, and he's off of his tits on MDMA, just running around. There would be like people just going fucking nuts around, and like fights breaking out. And like I remember one time there was a guy playing a goddamn Bob Dylan track, a Bob Dylan anti-war song. I can't remember which one, but I remember it specifically being an anti-war song, as two guys were having a giant fight in a circle of people. And then at one point, like, people were throwing glasses across the room, and I'm just like, the image right now is ridiculous. But the one of the most renowned guys, and it's like, I actually do really treasure being able to be in those environments, because especially like before I started using the loop pedal, all I used to do was I'd go out and I'd play the guitar and I'd rap. And that used to get some good feedback, but that also used to get some, maybe you need to diversify. And those people were right. Those people were incredibly right. Yeah. But it was kind of like it was like the Colosseum almost. And it's just like, if you could genuinely feel like, I remember I was talking with a rapper who I've met through there, and he was like, yo, if you can get the crowd on your side at this place, you can get the crowd on your side anywhere. Absolutely anywhere. And I was like, definitely, man.
I feel like every scene has that place. Like, they have that venue where if you can get the crowd, they have like that ruthless crowd where if you can get them on your side, then you're set. Like, well, not set, but you're ready to go and try another area or venue, you know.
Absolutely. I think it's that, it's almost like a baptism under fire. I think is the best phrase to put it. And I very much believe in that concept. Obviously, people work on different things. Like, not everybody's down for positive reinforcement. Some people work well with negative reinforcement, and some people crumble under the first amount of pressure.
Yeah.
So they need all that positive reinforcement. But I think it's important as a person in general, really, to be honest, but especially as creative, and not just a creative who is a performer, whatever performance art that you're doing, to build up some semblance of resilience and resolve, and this ability to kind of just like dig into yourself, and also learn that every failure's not going to be a failure. Some of them will be. Yeah. Some of them will be, and you can sit there full of chagrin and mope about it. But some of them will force you to turn deeper into yourself and pull something out of you, or something out of you, or diversify your talents. But yeah, no, this one guy I just want to mention, where it's just kind of like the epitome, and he's my favorite person I've ever met at this place, because he was just batshit crazy. I can't remember his goddamn name, but he was he called himself like a punk rapper. I believe that's what he said. He called himself a punk rapper, right?
Yeah, that seems to be a huge thing over here in the U.S. Like, they don't call it that, but that's essentially what it is. It's like punk rap.
Oh, wait, are you on about like the emo rappers?
Yeah, like the emo. That's kind of what I consider emo rap. Is like, it's like a punk type style. Yeah. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think where he differs a tiny bit is he lent just a bit more on the punk. So he would like sing. Actually, no, I'm saying that, and a lot of the emo rappers do actually mostly like use melody and hook and everything. All right, either way. So he called himself like a punk rapper, and he was about like 6'1", heavy set, right?
Yeah.
And he had something about him. I don't know if he may have actually had some sort of like, I don't know, mental health issues, but he never redressed it.
Yeah.
And he was always cool. He was always easygoing, but he had a wild streak. I'll tell you that. Right. So he, every time he would perform, right, he'd always go up with a balaclava, always go up with a bally on, right,
Mm-hmm.
and just somehow within like half a song, he would be naked, except for the balaclava. And like you've not seen shit till you've seen like a room with like 100 people as there's a naked tubby dude running round in front of them screaming fuck the pigs, just like screaming it into their faces. And he's nuts. I remember one time I was speaking to him and he told me this story about like how he played a gig at a working men's club, which is like, I don't know what the equivalent would be over in the States.
Would it be like, what is a working men's club? Is it?
It's almost like a glorified pub. It's like a social area. It's like almost like a borderline community center.
Okay, so it would be like a private members club or something. Basically,
a private members club, but with less pomp than the exclusivity of that. It's most working men's clubs are full of just like real average dudes, average people who just work in like 9 to 5s or like real blue collar jobs like laboring and things like that.
Gotcha.
And he told me, and this was a night, of course, before he performed and got butt ass naked and screaming "fuck the pigs" in people's faces. And he performed at this working men's club, and he, of course, did his set, which means he got naked, and this is in the afternoon, right?
Yeah.
And so apparently, people are booing him.
Yep.
And the security have like seen him, and they're like shouting at him, and he was like, "Fuck all of you! I'm gonna shit on this stage." And they were like, "No, you're not." And according to him, obviously, this is all a story, and I never saw it, but I want to believe that this is true so badly. So according to him, he took a shit on the stage, and then proceeded to pick it up and throw it into the crowd. And so like security are like bombing for him as he's throwing shit into the crowd. And apparently he's like run off and it's just like him naked with a balaclava running through the street.
Yeah.
But the police did get him. The police did eventually get him.
Okay.
He claimed the police got him, and apparently they let him off only with a warning. So that's where it's like it's a bit weird, but I want that story to be so true.
Like, I mean, I don't know how it is over there, but like a dude running naked down the street, that's not something that police here would just let away with a warning. Like that would not happen.
Oh hell no! It's indecent exposure.
Yeah.
I don't even know what crime like throwing your feces at someone is, but I'm sure there's a very fancy name for it.
Oh, I'm sure there's like a health biohazard something that they could flip.
Oh my god! Do you think it classes as biological warfare?
Maybe. I don't know. That's fun. Oh wow. Inciting biological warfare. That's what he got charged with. This huge. Yeah, that's. Oh wow.
Put in jail for 15 years.
Yeah.
You war criminal. Yes, fuck.
That's funny. Oh man.
Oh Christ. But no, yeah, I remember him saying it because he used to love guys like G.G. Allen.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he was obsessed with G.G. Allen, and so I'm just like, oh. Right, he's just doing G.G. Allen's thing, and to be honest, he's tame in comparison to G.G. Allen, isn't it? Yeah. So, like, at least he's just not out there like having a fight with people, and then he's like, "Spit in my face so I can bleed on you," like just crazy shit.
Yeah. So we were kind of on this point a little bit earlier, but What kind of advice do you have for younger musicians, specifically ones that are just starting or getting ready to jump into the music industry? What advice do you have for them?
Right. my time to be sage, to be wise, which is hard because I'm not really sage or wise. I'm a living embodiment.
I believe everybody's got a little piece of advice that they can pass on or that they wish they had when they first started. So that's
true. I definitely do say that. I think one of the main elements is got to be, if you're going to go for this, love it and go for it in the fullest element that you can.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and I mean, times can develop. So you could be half stepping with it, or very timid, apprehensive in your approach, and take some time. But that's your life. That's your time.
Mm-hmm.
And you should really utilize it. And I feel like those people who gun for it, like 100%, regardless of whatever the outcome is, they can always say that. They can always hold some restitution that they fully went for it. I would definitely say practice your arse off. Speaking as somebody who can quite humbly say they're not the world's greatest musician or even close, like really practice your arse off and just be able to just kill it in whatever specific field you're doing. Just really kill it. I'd also say play a whole bunch, play as many places as you can in your early stages to kind of be able to build up your sense of what performing in front of people is like, what a crowd is like, how you can observe and be able to sort of prepare for the ebbs and flows. And so, to be able to build up that intuition that comes with the dynamics of playing in front of people. Not everything goes down well in front of certain crowds, and that's an important thing to learn. I'd say that. Then also be aware of various pitfalls that come in the live element. And honestly, if you go out there killing it, you don't need many people. You don't need a giant industry team.
Nope.
Like there are people out here with sometimes just themselves, but sometimes as little as either a PR person, a manager, or a booking agent.
Yep.
And they are out performing internationally.
Yep.
I'd also say always be open to the people around you, but be wise enough to not say yes to every offer that you're given.
Or at least be wise enough to be able to really comprehend what the offer is. And that's definitely gonna take some time, because everything's really a learning curve, and like nobody's schooled me on any business side of this. Most of my knowledge of the business side is from like fragmented conversations and snippet clips from the interwebs. Yep. And those sort of things are going to come part and parcel. But it's if you're willing to learn from it, commit yourself to what you're doing and love what you're doing. As cliche as the phrase is, like sky's the limit. Sky's really the limit. Yeah, it really is. It just being able to do, like, I this past weekend I was doing another interview with a young lady. She was from Utah, which is like very far away from where I'm at, like 20 some hours. And she drove all the way down to Texas, where I'm based out of. And she's doing a tour around Texas by herself. Like when I was setting it up, I asked her, I was like, hey, how big's your team? Do I need to make sure that I have room for multiple people. You know, like what's kind of the feel of, or the how big's your team? She's like, oh, it's just me. And I'm like, you drove or came all the way across country by yourself to play music in venues that you've never played before? That takes some real guts, and I had to commend her for it. It was impressive.
Yeah, dude, that's super ballsy, and it just speaks of like sometimes you don't have to wait for the offer.
Yep.
Sometimes you can just create your own bar.
Yep.
And some people need to do it. Of course, some people, they're having their doors slammed down. Like they are sought after. They are the hot shit at the moment. But I also meet, like similar to as you're talking with this person, I meet people who are out crafting all their own opportunities, and they're phenomenal. They're really phenomenal people at what they do. And I know they'll get those other offers soon, but with some of them, I'm kind of like, why would they go back? Like they now understand it. Like if anything, financially, they're making way more than if they did it with someone else. And experience wise,
like experience, and they don't have to share in on any of the profits. You know, they're doing really well for themselves.
No, and I feel like those people are also like those ones who are, not to speak in a generalizing manner, I'm sure there's a lot of artists who are very copacetic and reciprocal and engaging with the people that go and see them. But I tend to find like those ones who are really picking it up right on the bare bones, independent, underground sort of level. They're the ones who like you see how much it means to them.
Yep.
You see how much it means to them, and they show it in the facet of their performance, and then engaging with people afterwards, engaging with whoever they've utilized to like help do the actual specific setup of the night. So like techs in the place, like that. Yeah, they just have a certain air about them.
Yeah,
they have a certain quality to them.
Yep, exactly. So, as we kind of start heading towards the end of the interview and what have you, what's next for you? What do you see? What's your plans for the rest of the year and moving forward? Are you working on an album? Are you writing?
Well, I'm always writing. Always writing.
That's good. That's good.
Sometimes with huge amounts of sabbaticals, because suffice it to say, Tom, I'm quite a pretentious bastard, which means I'm trying to be an artist in two ways. So sometimes music takes a little bit of a backseat for other endeavors, but it is my greatest passion, and it's the one I do focus heaviest on. At the moment, I am writing stuff. I have got a couple of recording sessions set up, and I've got some collaborations set up underway.
Okay.
One of them with a Belarusian producer who I met via SoundCloud. Okay. Who's a really, really incredibly nice guy. Real humble, extremely talented at what he does. I'm ever so blessed to have even worked with him. His name is Dasai. Okay. That track can be found on my Spotify and Apple Music. Me and him are going to be working on a project over the year. On top of that, I will be working on like my own solo projects. I'm going to be working on a solo live project that will hopefully get released soon. I'm going to plan to drop a couple singles over the year as well. Awesome. And play as many shows as I can. I'm just out here playing as many shows as I can because deep down I love it. Obviously there's a tiny part of me that's like, I'm an artist, give me a little bit of validation, but you know, insecurities and all of that crap.
Understood.
But for the most part, I do it just because I fucking love it. Like there's no greater feeling for me than performing, than just being able to do it. And I've played in basically empty rooms and still had a blast. Mm-hmm. Like literally rooms where it's just like the host, the bar staff, and one person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been that one person at the show, and it's, it's like, I'm here to support the artist, but on the other hand, it's like, I kind of feel bad because,
Oh no, 100%.
yeah, it's like, because if I for whatever reason, when I'm sitting there and if I go look down at my phone knowing that I'm the only person there, I don't want to give off that vibe of, oh, I'm not entertained. It's just, sorry, I had I had to answer a text message or so,
Yeah, no, you feel that social burden just a tiny bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always harder when you stand out. But that's what performers do as well, man. They stand right out.
Yep.
Can't blend in the crowds. It's so much easier when you can like blend in the crowd and do whatever you want.
Yep.
It's you can basically become like, that's like, people think about superpowers. This is such an alternate tangent. Thinking about superpowers, right? And like some people are like, oh, I'd love to be invisible. And it's kind of like, you don't need the power to be invisible. You can do it.
Yeah.
You can do it right now. Like, it's just, you just have to be so incredibly nondescript.
Yep.
And just blend into the crowd, and you'll be forgotten about. You might be noticed for a few seconds, but you will be like just in and out. Invisibility is possible.
Yep, it is. That's very true. It's yeah. And so are you planning on, or what's your show schedule looking like? I guess that was the better way to put it. What's your show schedule looking like coming up?
I'm happy to say that my show schedule is getting a bit chocker block, a bit full.
Okay.
It's getting packed out with some things, which is a blessing. It is a blessing.
And
so it's like I've got like, Christ, I think like 6 or 7 gigs already booked for next month. Plus I do a load of the open mic scene, and I've got like another gig. Like, I've got another 2 gigs this week and another one next week, and then I'm like taking bookings for April and beyond.
Now, is music what you do full time, or do you have like a job that supports the music habit right now?
Nah, man, I told you I'm a pretentious dick. So it means I'm trying to be an artist in 2 ways, which means I'm a bum. I'm a bum. I'm a glorified bum. And I'm a glorified bum with no glory and just a self-righteous statement. No, so I am blessed enough to be unencumbered so that I can focus upon my artistry.
Okay.
And my forms of procrastination, but my artistry as well. Although I will eventually have to get a job because life happens, have to do step up and be an adult sometimes. And I've worked before. I've worked over summers and stuff. And I used to busk a lot. That was how I earned some money. So I used to perform on the streets, which also has a lot of crazy stories, but I'm not going to go into that. Like, obviously we're drawing near to the end, and that's another long discussion. It's like whatever I end up doing, I will still do the things I do because, like, I mean, I'm unemployed now, but I've been fucking broke before. I've been like, honestly, if I didn't have the support of people around me, if I didn't have the support of some family, if I didn't have the support of some friends, like some certain relationships, I would have been fucked. Everything I'm doing really is a testament not only to whatever effort I put in myself, but mostly those people who are like unnamed, who are just fucking rocks, who have been rocks. And some of those people, they come and they go. Like, life changes. Everybody's got to move on and travel on their own journey and at their own pace. But like, so I've been like dead broke, like, and I still will like write poetry, write stories, write music. I would go to open mics. I'd walk to open mics. So like some open mics, I'm walking like 4 or 5 miles there and back. So I'm like doing hour-long walks to just go play a fucking 10-minute set.
That's dedication right there.
This shit means so much to me. I don't do the full level walks because I'm blessed enough to be able to earn some money at the moment. Which is all praise due for that. There's also a part of me that's like, oh God, when I walked, I was so much healthier. So it's like those things, even though they sound arduous, they do come with their benefits.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my thing. Unemployed, but whatever my stance is, I'll literally continue to do this.
Perfect. Do you have where's one place that we'll say like within the UK, where's one place that you haven't played that you'd really like to knock off the bucket list?
Damn, what do you mean, like
a venue,
region or venue? Oh, like venue.
Yeah.
Damn. I don't know. I'm going to try not to be too idealistic, but I'm going to try not to be too humble and realistic.
Okay.
I'm going to try to be ridealistic.
Okay.
I'm going to make up that word. I'm going to be ridealistic.
Okay.
I'm going to say it's a long way away.
Uh-huh.
Or maybe sooner than I think. Who knows? I'm going to try and be optimistic. But a venue that I've been to a lot of gigs at and that I love and is quite a like stamp if you ever get to make it there is if I ever get to like play at the Brixton Academy, that would be phenomenal. That'd be a dream. That'd be a dream for me.
Great. But
that comes with a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got to be able to do that. Maybe that one's a bit too idealistic, but yeah, Brixton Academy. It's just because it holds a special place to me. That's where I saw like one of my favorite artists perform one time, and so like. Nice.
Well, since you brought it up, who are some of your influences?
Christ, God, I don't want to be that person, but there's a whole bunch. But I'd probably say most heavily the people that have had the biggest impact on me, and not necessarily does it come through in the sounds, but just people who have made impact on me as artists.
Mm-hmm.
Are like so there was a few bands when I was younger. One of them is a band called Block Party. Their first two albums are phenomenal. Silent Alarm and Weekends in the City. Oh my God, those albums right there.
Yep.
There was another guy called Jamie T, whose Panic Prevention album is phenomenal. These are both British artists.
Okay.
Beyond that, there's people like in the hip hop world. Like I'm an avid lover and listener to hip hop music, and those people are like MF Doom.
Mm-hmm.
Homeboy Sandman, ODB, Old Dirty Bastard was like, Old Dirty Bastard and the Wu-Tang Clan were like some of the first people. Them, Tribe Called Quest and De La Soul were like some of the first acts that keyed me in when I was like 15 and I was just coming out of my rock and metal wave.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'd never listen to hip hop. And then I started listening to hip hop. I'm like, I'm never going to listen to anything else. But like, that's the juvenile sense of when you're doing it. Because I think when you grow up, you listen to the music that's around you.
Yeah.
So from your parents, that's on the radio. And then as you start to hit your teenage years and you start to formulate some concept of self-identity, a lot of people go into some things. And some people are broad, but I tend to find like a lot of the people that I grew up around and myself would be like, no, I'm all about this. And I'm all about this, and it's like it's cool to do that. Obviously, it's juvenile, but like that's you figuring it out. That's you learning a whole bunch of stuff. So yeah, Old Dirty Bastard, MF Doom, Homeboy Sandman. I do love A Tribe Called Quest. They really heavily influenced my sound. De La Soul. Contemporary artists like King Cruel and Tom Misch. I adore both of those artists and the music they do. Like one of them can like lift me up. So like Tom Misch can really lift me up, and King Cruel can just pull me right into the dregs of my depression, and existentialism is fantastic. I also love like bit of world music to put it under a broad spectrum. So there's a guy called Ali Farka Toure, African guy. I can't remember what country he's from, but he's a guitarist. I think he does some vocals as well, but I listened to this album of his one time when I was like in university and I was writing some stories, and it was like 5 a.m. and I'm just like, who is this guy? And I just kept playing the album on repeat. That and there's a Brazilian guy, a few Brazilian guys. There's a guy called Chico Buarque and Georgie Benjour. Georgie Benjour is phenomenal. The guy is super groovy. He's not like the deepest of cats
Okay.
lyrically, but his music is phenomenal. You probably have heard at least one Georgie Ben song without knowing who Georgie Ben is. Like, have you ever heard the song Mashkanada?
I might have, but
You, or you've almost certainly, especially being from the States, like you have definitely heard Mashkanada without knowing it.
yeah. There's a lot of that, like especially with a lot of the American like classical stuff, like the Beethovens and Bach and all that stuff. There's a lot of kids that when you say, "Have you heard of Beethoven or Bach?" They're like, "No," and then you play them a song, and it's like, "Oh, I know that's you know."
Yeah, exactly. It permeates through through various forms of culture.
Yep.
Like yeah, but that, like so many of those times when I've had those moments, and as sad as it is to say, and it's a whole other discussion, I'll be like, oh yeah, isn't that in the such and such advertisement?
Yep.
And it's like, oh shit. Sometimes when you think of that, you're just like, Christ, commercials have embedded themselves into my subconscious.
Yep.
That's a living part of the pattern of my personality. Shit.
That was a huge thing over here in America for a while, where they were, instead of having commercials do like custom jingles, they would just go buy the rights to like random 80s rock songs and just make that the jingle. So yeah.
Just get on that popularizing fucking
pretty
thing.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Oh, there's also a few people contemporaneously that I work with who kind of inspire me, and so these are people who I've encountered in events, or I've been blessed to meet at events, or who run events, and these people, like there's a phenomenal English rapper by the name of Otis Mensah.
Okay.
His Rap Poetics EP is just incredible, and he's got another EP called Mum's House Philosopher. This guy is just a remarkable talent. I cannot speak higher of that guy. There's also some other really cool people that I've been able to meet. There's a guy called the Repeat Beat Poet, who him and his partner Sky God run a poetry event that I've been going to a while out in London called Pensing Poetry. That is phenomenal. And yeah, Pensing Poetry, it's a good name. But yeah, the Repeat Beat Poet is just someone I really admire on his just level of graft. He is somebody who really, really is about what he's doing, and he has been able to establish himself as a creative figure in London. London is a hard city to establish yourself as a fucking human being, let alone as a creative figure. And he does that off the world of spoken word poetry. He is branching out into music. The guy's got music coming out soon, and I'm excited for that. But I feel like, especially for poetry, it's super hard to establish yourself. But that's also something that's really cool, the spoken word scene out here, and I assume probably the same in the States. It actually seems like a worldwide kind of effect. It's something that's really growing. Like poetry is really sort of coming into this wave of being like as grand, but not as pompous as like the eras of like Alexander Pope and people like that.
It hasn't quite started gaining extreme popularity over here, at least that I've seen. Everything that I've kind of seen, it's always still been, I don't want to say underground because that doesn't seem fair, but it's spoken words kind of been, it's starting to bubble up. I see some people playing with it and doing some cool things with it, but for the most part, it hasn't quite started making that big rise. But I see what you're talking about, and I can definitely see that it has a possibility to do that and become the next big genre, so to speak.
Really and truly. And there's a lot of musical endeavors that are going on that incorporate a very spoken word element into them. And there's a lot of like just spoken word that's straight up put out. Like there's there's a really couple renowned and powerful, more contemporaneous British poets. One being Kate Tempest, who is a phenomenal act. Like, she's won a bunch of awards. She's written a play before. She has a few albums under her belt, internationally tours as a musician, but is a phenomenal poet. And there's another guy called George the Poet, who does very much similar things, like has tracks under his belt, performs a shitload, and has really renowned and powerful poetry. I wish I actually had greater understanding really of these people's back catalogs to give them the credit they're all fairly deserving of. All they're all due. But I can only speak of them. And just some other people. Shout out another guy who, like the Rapibi poet, who I have absolute respect and admiration for, in the amount of work they put into everything. Is there's another British guy called, it goes by the name of Doperman, who's a really blessed guy, who also has fantastic music. He can be checked out on Spotify right now.
Nice.
Christ, I had a longer mental list, but these are some of the names that immediately coming up to mind. And also, of course, shout out to everybody who's ever fucking dealt with me or given me their time and helped out. And some of those people have I've performed at those Penting poetry events, and so stuff like that.
Yeah. So this was a question I was going back and forth if I was actually going to ask it or not, but I think I finally have it worded out in my head so it doesn't come off like I'm I don't want to say ignorant American, but so with people like Stormzy and Ed Sheeran, they're starting to make noise on an internet, obviously Ed Sheeran's been making noise on the international level for a while now, but with some of these guys starting to make noise on the international level, how's that really shined a light on the independent scene? Has that helped? Obviously it couldn't hurt, but what changes have you seen over the last few years with these guys starting to make noise on an international level and really starting to branch out to, especially the U.S., because I know Stormzy is really starting to make a name over here, and then Dizzy Rascal, for whatever reason, I know that name from a few years back.
Because in terms of grime, he was the first one to break America.
Yeah. So
Dizzy, he's kind of like grime royalty.
Yeah.
But do I see any reverberations from that into the independent scene in the UK? No, I feel like things are on a very similar trend. It definitely seems like British acts are more sought after, and of course, I don't know why in the dichotomy of the UK and the US is it because for a lot of the time, during the quote unquote golden age of rock music and its varying branches, the aim is you're not the fucking apex until you've broke the UK if you're an American band, and vice versa. So if you're a British band, you're not shit till you've broken America, so to speak. And so I think that element is still kind of there, but I think we live in a slightly more internationally conscious world, and technology has really enabled people to be global, just completely global. And so I think people like Stormzy going across and breaking America is really inspirational for young up and coming people, so they can see him out there, see him staking his claim, making his name known, and be seen as just something to admire and to aspire towards. That's the word I was looking for. But in terms of what have I seen on the independent scene from that change, Nothing much. I feel like technology has really made the greatest impact
Okay.
on the independent scene, and I can only just about say that. I say that from secondhand and a very brief first-hand knowledge, where it's kind of like, being that I've been performing since I was like 17.
Yep.
So around like 2010 was my first gig. And I mean, that was just before, really, I would say, like, for lack of a better term, even though I don't actually know, because this is an accredited like academic term, though I don't know where it comes from, but like the tech bubble, like like when it really spiked up, because I know it was like around 2011, 2012. Maybe that's why the world ended. Maybe this is what happened. But around 2011, 2012, that was when certain organizations like Facebook and Instagram and Google really became huge. Really fucking, and Apple really fucking became huge.
YouTube,
and yeah, and there was this huge prevalence of everything. Because I remember YouTube being like this super cool, like weird thing that I'd just about heard of, and it was like so all over the place. It's like, oh, there's a guy reviewing games, and somehow that's funny. Like, what? There's just videos of people getting hit in the nuts. There's a Saddam Hussein hanging on here. Like, what the fuck is this thing? And then around like 2011, 2012, it just huge boom, and of course it rapidly developed, and it's a brilliant tool. Obviously, it has a lot of negative points, but I won't get too far into all of those. I'm sure you're aware. I'm aware. Anyone who's listening is probably aware. But yeah, technology has enabled independent artists to retain independence or become their own springboard. Like, it's given them rocket shoes as like the best I could give as an image. So like they can become the builders of their own bridges, literally off the backs of these things. And I don't know, I think we're nearing a point where a lot of these, in the creative world, a lot of these organizations are beginning to figure out the ins and outs of things, and limitations are being set. So things will start getting closed up a tiny bit, because I think some organizations want it to be the quote unquote good old days of borderline monopolization. So I think people like Ed Sheeran, Stormzy, just like any giant artist or any artist that goes and breaks another continent, is someone inspirational, aspirational, and admirable to up and coming artists. But no, I haven't seen it have a great effect in the independent world. I would say more so technology has enabled those people way more.
Yeah, and I think the technology, that's just a worldwide, I don't want to say phenomenon, but that's really the best way to explain it, because...
Oh, it almost is, man. It's just came out of nowhere. Sorry to cut you off. It's just like, it just came out of nowhere, where it's just like this grand fabrication that we as people have made, where it's just kind of like, I'm going to import everything into this. This is going to be like your global fucking passport. This is going to be the source of all of your information. You're basically going to like marry your brain to this. Like this will enable you in so many ways that you have no idea.
Like, I mean, look at this interview. Like, if you would have told me 10 years ago that I was going to be doing an interview on my computer with somebody 20 some odd hours, how many ever 1,000 miles away, and we're going to be talking like we're on the phone, and it's not going to cost anybody anything. Like that is so weird, and I would have not believed it 10 years ago.
No, it's super fucking weird, and it makes you like, sometimes I like sit and think about, like, as human beings, how privileged we are to be living in the quote unquote modern time. And it's
or just like, I mean, I don't, not to steal somebody else's thunder, or just to be living in general, like.
Oh, 100%. Yo, that was something I was talking about with someone the other day. And I think this actually marries both of those points, where it's kind of like we're living in a world that's like really idolizes heroes, superheroes, and there's never been a greater time. Not since like ancient and classical times has there been such a great moment.
Yep.
For hero figures. And you want to know who are absolute heroes that nobody ever mentions?
Who's that?
It's our fucking like savage Neanderthalic ancestors. Like those crazy cave dwelling bastards are like, if they were not fucking running around, figuring out fire, if they were not like jabbing at saber-toothed tigers and fighting every goddamn thing around them, living in such a crazy world, like we're literally there because of them.
Yep.
Inbuilt, like fucking survival crazy animal instinct, ancient human that really busted its ass to get there, and like they're still within us a tiny bit.
Yep.
Like do anything strenuous, like you'll catch it. Go have crazy sex, you'll catch it. Get really angry, you'll catch it. But like them to me, it's just kind of like, oh my god. There are some fucking heroes right there.
Yep.
Like, no one has an idea. Out here fighting giant monster type creatures. They have no idea. Like, I could not survive that way.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
But so just to kind of wrap this thing up into a nice little neat bow and all that fun stuff, because it's been great talking to you. This went
likewise, man.
Went a lot longer than I thought it would. We're about double what I thought it was going to be. And so it's just been a really cool conversation. Was not expecting this whatsoever. And like that's the interesting / weird part about this segment of the podcast, because we're both sitting here talking to people we've never talked to before with very little context as to what they're about, what they're trying to accomplish, because like literally it's just hey, somebody tagged you in this post and I want to talk to you because they said I should. Like that's a kind of a weird concept, but this is a prime example as to why it works. And so this conversation has been absolutely amazing. Wasn't quite sure what we were going to get, but
dude, I was mildly worried as well, but it's been blessed. It's been a pleasure. It's been awesome. A pleasure, Tom.
Awesome. So where can people kind of find your schedule, find you online to follow you and see for your next or for your upcoming shows, any new music? Like, where can people find you?
Okay, so yeah, good people about to get the rollout thrown on them. So you can find me on all your favorite Mark Zuckerberg Matrix devices. That's Facebook and Instagram. You can find me on Instagram as @myrealnameisstarship and on Facebook as @myrealnameisstarshipofficial. If you just write in My Real Name is Starship on either of those, it will come up. On Facebook, I have all my dates. I also promote them all up on Instagram, along with content blobs for all of you people. You can also find me on Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, Tidal. Shout out Jay-Z. He'll never shout me back, but shout out Jay-Z. KK Box, all of these things. If you just search My Real Name is Starship, that is My Real Name is Starship. You write the whole thing. I've also got tour dates written up on all of on my Spotify page. So if you're following my Spotify page, you'll get email notifications about like closest gigs that come, and you can find concerts through there that send you to links for shows with like ticket links and stuff like that. And you can also just catch me in real life. I'm just running around. Anyone who listens to this, who's based in London, or anybody who's listened to this who's over on the other side, you can catch me in real life. I try to get around as much as I can. If you're ever in a music venue in Southeast London or East London or North London or West London or across most of the city, there's a chance you might see me. And if you see me, say what's up. And I'll say what's up back. And we might be able to have a conversation.
Perfect.
As good as this one. Yeah.
Thanks.
That's about the most I could do with a roller. I always feel super weird whenever I do those things.
Yeah. No,
it's kind of like, it's my walking billboard moment.
Like, tell us everything. Where can we, I understand how weird it is because
But thanks, man. Thank you so much for sitting down and doing this.
Yeah, thank you.
We hope one day we'll make it out to London. Every year we talk about this being the year that we're going to make it out to London, and it hasn't happened yet, but hopefully this year.
Oh, no, I'll get it, man. You guys will come here. Will come here when you're ready. When London calls.
Yep.
When London calls, man. But hopefully it won't be a clash. Ooh, terrible joke to end on. Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Oh, man.